By far, Base is one of the fastest growing ecosystems in the crypto space for this cycle, and I believe it'll be one of the biggest gaining altcoin ecosystems of the space as well. Now, there is one altcoin actually on Base that I believe will do even more than a 20x from the current price. I'm going to share with you what that coin is, but why, importantly, I think it will. I can tell you about it, but the why is just as important, and I want to give you examples, specific examples from the last cycle, that we can compare a very similar project and ecosystem in terms of how they performed from the current time and figure out again just how high this can really go. Now, what is the altcoin, you're asking? Well, it's called Aerodrome. Aerodrome Finance is a DeFi hub on Base, and it is by far the leading DeFi hub on the ecosystem, okay? This literally beats the next best by a long shot. We'll talk more about that momentarily here, but you have to know the reasons why I'm bullish. And to do that, first of all, we're going to have a look at what this was like in the last cycle. Now, Base wasn't around, Aerodrome wasn't even a thought or a twinkle in the sky, but what we had back then was the Binance Smart Chain, another leading centralized exchange, and also PancakeSwap, the leading DeFi hub on the Binance Smart Chain. Now, I get it, you guys can't quite see down here, but it's pretty much a flat line before this huge spike. And basically what happened was, that is a snapshot of when we are right now 4 years ago, when Bitcoin was moving sideways after hitting all-time highs for that kind of 2-month period. And these two projects just launched and they had pretty much no traction, okay? They then shot up substantially, as you can see here in terms of price and overall percentages, okay? They both went up together. Now, this is PancakeSwap here, and this is the underlying network, of course, the Binance Smart Chain. A lot of similarities between the two, because just like Aerodrome, of course, PancakeSwap was that particular leading DEX, except as we'll see now, basically Base has so much more TVL and overall money flowing around it that I actually think it's going to perform a hell of a lot better than the likes of PancakeSwap did. So Binance Smart Chain in the last cycle, basically when that first snapshot was taken on the previous slide there, it had about $100 million in TVL, shooting up to about $22 billion. So yes, again, was a new layer 1, similar to Base being a new layer 2, and it definitely surprised a lot of people in terms of how much money flowed into it. Likewise, PancakeSwap actually went to a $7.7 billion TVL, which again was just incredible. It went parabolic. Now, at the same sort of rough price we are right now in terms of market cap compared to PancakeSwap, which is roughly speaking about $500 million, we can see that PancakeSwap actually 23x. Okay, so it went from about $3.50, $3.30 to a whopping like $43. Incredible numbers produced here. And keep in mind, again, that was back then. Less money in the ecosystem, but the key important factor is that was the main gateway into the Binance Smart Chain ecosystem. Now, I want to say, guys, if you're enjoying this video so far, or if you learned something new along the length of the video, do not forget to go down there, hit the like button. It helps support all I do over here. I am sincerely thankful. And while you're down there, if you are new around here, guys, the daily crypto content, you're getting all the information so you, of course, can achieve your crypto goals this cycle. Hit that subscribe button. Thank you very much. People, when they want to actually use a network itself, they always tend to use the leading DEX because it's the cheapest, because it has the deepest liquidity pools, and because it's the gateway for that ecosystem itself. It's always a direct correlation. If you find a layer 2 or a layer 1 performing well, the leading DEX always does the best. If we compare where Base is right now, 4 years ago to where basically the Binance Smart Chain was getting 100 million TVL, the Base is about $1.7 billion in TVL. So because it's more money, you might argue, well, less multiples in the TVL sense. Maybe. I think Base can do more than a $23 billion TVL, but it's how much money is flowing around in terms of TVL, okay? This money has to land somewhere. It usually attracts, again, to that leading DEX, that DeFi hub, which, as you can see, Aerodrome right now is by far and away the leading project in this space. So it's $700 million in TVL, comparable to the next closest, which is Uniswap. And as you can see, obviously, Uniswap is more of like a multi-chain DeFi hub, okay? So in this sense, the next closest like main chain is Extra Finance at $120 million. So people tend to always go towards the leading DEX, but also the DEX that is native to an ecosystem because they just feel better about it, okay? It's like, oh, this is sort of like the go-to for this ecosystem. And as we'll see later on, having it connected to many other ecosystems via the Optimism superchain, it's going to unlock a lot more potential inflow into Base and therefore Aerodrome than what you might initially perceive. And I think this is a true testament in terms of how much growth Aerodrome has had over the last couple months here. Since February, it's like 6x, guys. 6x is TVL. If that's not an indication of growth, I don't know what is. You then factor in that the TVL is 1/10 the TVL of what PancakeSwap was, okay, way back over here at its height. I think goes to show that we can probably expect at least another 10x in TVL and therefore a lot more multiples on the side of the price. That is a great indication initially for a DeFi project that people actually do like it and trust it most importantly. Now, speaking of trust and speaking of overall demand, the thing you have to understand, guys, is when we're talking about crypto, we're talking about barriers to entry. The big part of this space is, number one, getting money in the space, and number two is actually learning how to use hot wallets, using DeFi. And the thing that I love about Base is that they're actually looking to incorporate something called a smart wallet, okay? This will allow 1 billion users to actually come onto the ecosystem with nothing more than creating a password, okay? None of this writing down your seed phrase, learning how to use gas, buy Ethereum, then store Ethereum to transfer, none of that sort of stuff. They're allowing users to come on, create a wallet, interact with their ecosystem by just doing a simple create a password and Bob's your uncle, essentially, right? So this is good because, again, this is going to bring more people in. And what's the first product they're going to use in the Base ecosystem? I mean, take a wild guess. It's obviously going to be Aerodrome, because to access the DeFi ecosystem, to access anything on Base, to buy the small altcoins that aren't on centralized exchanges, you have to use a DEX. Again, that's when we come back to the main player. It's very simple. If they even do a little bit of research, they'll come to find that Aerodrome has the deepest pools, the less fees, all the extra benefits that do come along with it as well. Now, like I showed you before, I mean, PancakeSwap, again, is a perfect example of what we're trying to compare it to here, all right? Because we can actually use the market cap from way back in 2020, 2021, and have a look at how much it grew in an ecosystem, being the Binance Smart Chain, that I believe had a lot less, I guess, overall money flow into it. Yes, I guess back then it was a definitely popular product, but to what Base is trying to do here, breaking down the entry barriers and also just being a more popular product, I do believe, with more money in the space, I think it's going to probably do even better. So again, it went from roughly speaking about a 500 million market cap up to about a 7 billion market cap, which again is priced kind of that 23x. And Aerodrome's right now is about a 540 million market cap. And I know, looking at the price chart, right, it doesn't look amazing. It's like, oh, well, I could have got him back down here. Guys, like, ultimately, the people who got back down in here in Aerodrome, or any project for that matter, or even over here, right, these people aren't buying millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars, okay? It's a lot different. If you had a higher market cap and price movements up, you have people buying millions of dollars worth of the token. Therefore, of course, it's going to impact on the top side. In this case, it really isn't that big of a deal. Yeah, you could have got in cheaper, but again, are you really going to complain with a potential 20x, maybe a 30x, and not your 50x? I mean, you can weigh up your options, of course. I know I'm definitely going to be weighing up mine in this case and exposing myself to DeFi with this project and also the Base ecosystem. You got to remember, a big part of crypto this cycle is the ecosystem growth. Solana, Ethereum, Base, and so on. These ecosystems do flourish and have their own narrative seasons like the rest of like the other narratives like Oracle's, DeFi, AI, Deep, and so on. All right. So we can see here the TVL, again, roughly speaking, is quite high, slightly off. It's a bit more actually right now. Monthly trading volume is huge, $1 billion. Monthly fees, the protocols generating revenue, back, of course, for the people providing liquidity and so on, and also for the devs themselves, 20 million, which is astonishing. That's crazy high, and about 150,000 monthly active users. Now, in addition to all this bullishness, okay, it actually is supported by some pretty good fundamentals. It has been actually invested in by the Base Ecosystem Fund, which of course is, built out by Coinbase themselves. So it pretty much has investment from Coinbase, which is a very, very good sign to see. And it is even more bullish, the fact that they're not handing out grants for every Tom, Dick, and Harry, okay? They've specified here only about, about 8 or so investments, Aerodrome being one of them, okay? So it does have a coin, unlike the rest of them so far. So this is a very good sign to see overall. Not to mention as well, the distribution amongst the wealth is quite diverse. Okay, we can see here that a large percentage is in the escrow. Of course, that just comes along with, a DeFi protocol that has sort of a VE token, if you will, like a voting token. But we also have, again, some of these top wallets about 3.7%. But again, this quickly disperses down to 1% and 0.x%. So again, very diverse in my personal opinion, which is of course very good to see in a DeFi protocol. Now, one aspect you have to also consider when we're looking at these sort of like main dexes on an ecosystem is how easy it is for people to actually use it, all right? Because you're not just talking about people going specifically onto Base and using specifically Base projects, but also how easy it is to bridge over to that ecosystem, use the ecosystem, and maybe transfer back out again. And of course, Base has been built with Optimism superchain technology, okay? So it is hooked up to the superchain, which gives it a bunch of access to other layer 2s on Optimism and also all of the layer 3s and all the dApps and DEXs built on the superchain or around that ecosystem as well. So it is quite connected, which is a very good sign to see. You always want to look at the underlying infrastructure or the underlying network for any DEX or main product or service on an ecosystem, because that'll tell you how many people will ultimately end up using that particular project. Also, guys, their Twitter followers aren't amazing, but this is actually a good sign to see. What I'm often seeing in crypto is a lot of these new projects having hundreds of thousands of followers, and you check their interactions. You come down here and have a look at how many likes, how many average views, retweets, comments they're actually getting, and most of them are getting like fractions of even what Aerodrome is getting, okay? Which is a bad sign, which means they've botted or artificially pumped their follower count to make it look more appealing, which is never a good sign. Crypto companies are here, most of them are anyway, to just simply get you to invest in them, to make the founders and the team rich. They can then exit and they're all happy. That's how you can become a millionaire on vaporware, right? You can just pretty much spin up and copy code and market a nice product and leave. But Aerodrome hasn't done that, right? It's very, very organic in feeling, which is what you want to see. Even the comments under my YouTube videos have always been AERO for like ages now, okay? A lot of people are buzzing about this organically. Now, again, you can check the likes, the ratio, see between the views and so on. Overall, it's probably about average, maybe sometimes to the higher side, depending on the post itself. But overall, I'd say about average, which is a good sign to see, mind you, again, because if they had hundreds of thousands of followers and this engagement, that actually is somewhat of a warning sign, and you do not want to see artificial boosting. Now, what I'll finalize here and say, guys, is that a big part of why I invest in projects is my pumpamental strategy, okay? This is a long story to go on, but two of the most important parts of this particular plan is the narrative and, of course, the meme, or the unique selling point. Now, the unique selling point of Aerodrome in this case is the fact that it is the leading DeFi hub, DEX, whatever sort of buzzword you want to use there, for Base. Now, Base is such a large and growing ecosystem right now that is a very, very bullish sign to begin with. That is essentially its USP, just like Uniswap was for ETH, just like Pancakeswap was for the Binance Smart Chain. I too believe this will be for Base. Now, talking about narratives, we're going to zoom in here to DeFi, right? DeFi isn't the highest ranking narrative in my personal opinion, unlike AI, DePIN, layer 2s and so on. However, I do want to mention that it actually excels still, because when we come to these sort of lower ranking narratives, in my opinion, it becomes a bit harder to find the winning coins, because you do have some duds, right? You'll have the duds that you buy into because the narrative isn't strong. They all don't pump together and they're all not massive blow-off type moments, but because it is such a strong USP and that's the only sort of major DEX, it stands out as a major player. So in reality, I would rank Aerodrome pretty much a 10 out of 10 in terms of the meme narrative. You could probably get a bit cynical here, maybe say a 9 out of 10, but I don't think any less than a 9 out of 10 is warranted in this case. Tokenomics are fine. 14% of the distribution to the team. Again, all the holders have pretty equal share. Honestly, guys, I think the telltale signs are here. The TVL is more than the market cap right now. Let that sink in. I think the writing's on the wall, and it's up to you to make that decision yourself. But hey, I'm personally getting in this project. I almost don't like making videos because I don't like buying a project until I've made the video. I just don't like to have the feeling in my mind that I'm buying and then selling the product. I like to buy after the video, so at least that case, it's all transparent. And if you want to be transparent and see what I'm actually buying, I keep it all 100 in the private community. If you're in there, you can actually see my transactions. There's no BSing in there. So whether you believe me or not, join the private community and see for yourself, guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. Let me know what you think about Aerodrome down below. Are you a holder? Do you want to get in? Let's hear it. Talk to you soon. Bye.